Welcome to our empowering journey, uncovering truths and embracing self-worth for women.
We have to continually go, go, go. And so I think, for, what you're doing and helping women and inspiring them, we put on a great front and, a great mask or whatever word that you want to say. But, I do think that, every woman has those one or two things that, we'd love to change. So I think that's so monumental that you've, said, hey, look, I want to find those one or two things and help.
Yeah.
So
because it's keeping us from thriving. And then sometimes it actually chips away at our self-worth, right? So this is one distinction that I think is really important when we're talking about whether it's coaching or self-fulfillment, is there's a big difference between self-esteem and self-worth. So self-esteem can be gathered by accomplishing things. So
great at that.
yeah, right? And so, but you may have run across brilliant people. Mm-hmm. And especially women, and they don't even know the value of what they do. They don't, they can't accept it. And so that's the self-worth thing.
Right.
And so self-worth can only be derived internally. And that's where a lot of the one or two things that women have, men have, is we have this belief that we pick up probably before we're 7, when we don't have language or emotional skills, and somebody that we valued said something to us, and it could have been totally innocent.
In passing, just
exactly. We didn't bring any of the context in, or it could have been on purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, but then when it's on purpose, we often can name it, and so when we can name it, I believe it's not a hidden belief. Well, it's not a hidden belief, but
right.
It's if you're holding on to that belief, it's because it's gaining you something.
Right.
But the ones that are hidden from us, the ones that are outside of our consciousness, those are the ones where we have, in the way that I do my coaching, is we determine what is your belief about what's possible, who other people are, and what your life could be. So it's kind of like I am not able to have money. I am not able to have a relationship where I'm met on all aspects. Yeah. And that we don't even know where that came from. We don't even know it exists. And so what we do is we uncover it. And the interesting thing is that doesn't take that long to find out what false belief system you had, and you can replace that with I am worthy of having everything that I want. But what happens is, let's say you adopted that thought process when you were 6. Well, all the rest of your life, when you had the opportunity to break through and understand, you didn't do it because it wasn't possible for you, so why bother?
Right.
So that's what we do. We develop the skills. That's why coaching isn't like 2 or 3 times generally. Generally, it might be a 3-month thing, because then you go out and you learn which skills you don't have, and you practice in the safety of accountability and somebody else there being with you, allowing you to gain the skills that you didn't have all the way along.
I think that's exactly right. I think, women are so, and obviously men too, but, with the focus here today being on women, I think, they're so multidimensional. And I think there's, so many stresses that, you're thinking about, coming from all directions, when it comes to our partners and our loved ones, our families, our friends and their expectations. And then, all of the social interactions that we have, the neighbors and, all of those things, all the way up to, professionally, and kind of the plethora of issues and problems that can come, at women, professionally, whether it has anything to do with them being a woman or not. I think it's a lot to deal with all at once. And so, finding those one or two things, of everything that they have put together, that, those 1, 2, 3 things, that they could help to develop, I think is a really inspiring way to coach and to find that. So can you share kind of a success story that you've had with one of your clients and kind of the before and after?
One of the people that I worked with, she came in and she wanted to write a book. So she wrote all the time as a lawyer. But this was a book about a case that she was involved with in the case of extenuating circumstances and somebody being wrongfully convicted. of a crime, and it had to do. It was gender based, and it was also had to do with LGBTQ type of things too. And the thing was that she had this idea that she could not talk about other people's experiences,
Interesting.
right? Because if you didn't live it, then how can you have that story?
Right.
Right. And so when we uncovered that belief, then she was able to separate it out as this is not me having to expose them. It's me being able to honor them. And instead of putting somebody in harm, I'm actually raising them up. So that could have even come from, girls don't talk about other people. Don't be that nasty girl.
Don't gossip.
Exactly, right? Simple things like that can hold us back.
Yeah.
And then she actually got the book published.
Amazing.
Yeah. So, it's funny. So one of the distinctions too between like therapy and coaching is therapy kind of looks backwards and assumes that there's something wrong, whereas coaching looks forward and assumes that you have everything that you need within you in order to reach whatever goal it is that you want.
I love that. I think that's a really, really great way to put it. Is there a tip, a trick, a thought, a nugget that you can give with your experience and helping women that you think that they could benefit from?
Well, what I would say is if there's something that's bothering you about your opportunities, your lives, there's a lot of politics stuff going on now, and a lot of women feel scared. They feel scared if it's not for themselves, but for their children and their grandchildren, and having some of the rights that they had taken away. And today in the news, it was about, looking into the FDA and having birth control being regulated in a way that it hadn't been before. And it's just something that just seems so crazy to me. But if this is something that's bothering you, find local people, like grassroots stuff. It's the only way that anything really gets done. And so become involved. Do what you can. It's so surprising what can happen when you're doing something in the grassroots level. And plus, if that's something where you can do it. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think community is incredibly important. And, things have been, especially lately, I think, so polarizing and so controversial. And I think that, everybody is kind of stepping on eggshells. But, to the point that you made earlier, I think there's so much more that we have in common than we don't. Right. And focusing on those, things that we have in common. And if we want things changed, then to find other like-minded people, like-minded women, like-minded, advocates and supporters to help change what you want to do. The power of community is incredibly powerful. I am a power networker. I bring people together. Exactly. It's all about kind of who I know and what I can leverage, for collaboration and support and, my business network and personal network. And I think, kind of if I were to give that same sort of advice, it'd be find your tribe, find your people, find your community, and give a little bit of grace.
Yes, thank you. That's beautiful. I love that. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So Peggy, it was so great to have you on today and to share your incredible experience and history. I love your passion that you have for working with women and, thinking about, my own life, those one or two things, changing those and working on those. I could only imagine the impact that what you're doing is able to show on the women that you work with.